Welcome back, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. We will be looking at the issues because I understand that we have been looking at budgeting for a while and we've learned about all the budgeting systems that are available. However, what you need to understand is that it's not all rainbows and sunshine. What happens with budgeting is that there are a lot of challenges, especially as businesses have transformed themselves, especially in the modern day and age, where technology has played a big role in making businesses more dynamic, more responsive, more rapidly changing. So, in this sort of environment, in this sort of very fast-paced environment, how exactly does budgeting fit? Especially traditional budgeting. So there are a lot of issues, a lot of concerns with respect to how traditional budgeting is not necessarily the best possible solution to planning anymore and exerting control also. Let's take a look at some of the reasons that the syllabus wants you to understand and why you learn all of this is because sometimes there are questions where you have to criticize the current budgeting approaches. So unless you have a good understanding of all these different reasons as to why budgeting may have or may be problematic, you will find it difficult to answer those kind of questions. So that's why this is important. So pay attention. Budgeting can be costly and time consuming. Budgeting heavily focuses on short term results because of the 1 year and the budgetary control period approach to it. Insufficient external focus because when you look at budgeting and teams that are doing budgeting work, they are hell bent and they're predominantly driven by internal matters and internal numbers and what happened in the past, how many units did we sell. So purely looking at the internal aspect is not necessarily a good approach to budgeting, and a lot of companies unfortunately do that. There's a heavy amount of top down approach, even though we did reflect on the contrasting one which is bottom up. It's not always it doesn't work that way all the time. There's a lot of opportunity, though there was a lot of opportunity for participative and non imposed budgeting. What is actually happening is that the senior management almost all the time they decide how to proceed with this. Less suited for modern organizations. That's what I was reflecting earlier. Nowadays, companies that they're very fast. There are softwares that feed real time information back and forth, back and forth. So you can exactly track what's going on now, and you have the capability to do variance analysis on a daily basis if you want. You can flag an adverse variance if it happened yesterday. If you have the sufficient level of detailed breakdown embedded into your software, you can get daily variances. So when we live in a day and age such as that, when we have that sort of capability, things can be quite tough. Things can be quite difficult to or rather traditional budgeting might not really work well. Furthermore, just to summarize these points, budgeting prevents rapid response. Budgeting is too detailed and it can be very expensive. It can be outdated. Your budgets can get outdated within a few months. Budgeting is not aligned with the competitive environment. Budgeting is divorced from strategy. There can be a disconnect between where your vision, mission, goals, and objectives are and the budgeting, because the budgeting exercise and the people who are involved in the budgeting exercise can get too carried away. Budgeting stifles initiative and innovation because of the backward looking nature to it, and it can bring in a lot of red tape. We did discuss that there are benefits like coordination and authorization, but the very same places or the very same controls that allows those benefits can in turn be hindrances for fast paced organizations, for new organizations to move forward. And budgeting protects non value adding costs because especially if you take something like incremental budgeting, there are a lot of costs that are not really value adding that can get carried forward. Budgeting reinforces command and control, and how exactly or how much do we use command and control anymore in the world? Command and control, the military kind of approach is age old. It doesn't really work anymore, and there are a lot of companies that have shifted away. Like even modern organizations like Facebook, Meta, they have this kind of cluster approach, and their organization structure is also quite different, and it has given a lot of freedom to a lot of people. So the traditional budgeting system doesn't really allow that. It can demotivate people due to various reasons, from something as simple as the fact that they don't participate in the planning process, to something like that the budgets are too tough. And budgeting encourages unethical behavior and increases reputational risk, especially whenever your budgets are too tight, too aggressive, too difficult to achieve, and there are big bonuses attached to, because you're driving profit, right? So if you want to increase profits, you're willing to spend money, and then sometimes you attach big bonuses to these things, and then people do things that don't necessarily fall into the ethical you know scope of matters. So these are all different reasons as to why budgeting or traditional budgeting can be challenging, which is why nowadays we are or companies are increasingly looking at non-budgetary driven methods to planning. And that is when we arrive at something called beyond budgeting, literally beyond budgeting, moving beyond budgeting, going on or moving on from budgeting. Let's take a look at what exactly beyond budgeting is in the next segment. uh, with that, I hope you have a good understanding of the criticisms that you can enforce upon traditional budgeting. Thank you so much and good luck.